And I'm like,
You're like,
this
which
is
is it? Yeah.
seriously. And then like, it's just too much. It's too much. And I swear by the end of my life, I will get macarons down if it kills me.
Thank you so much for joining me today and agreeing to do this. I think maybe let's just start with, how you got started with cookies. Was it always going to be a cookie business? And, how did you get to where it is today?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always loved baking, and my friend, she showed me like photos of these cookies, and I thought they were really cool. And a couple years had gone by since my friend showed me these. And one day I was working at this small boutique, and I just decided I wanted to work for myself. I went home, looked up a recipe, and just started teaching myself how to decorate cookies. So there was really no real reason why I got into cookies, other than I just loved baking and I thought I wanted to bake for myself. And that's how I kind of got started.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's funny. I guess, there doesn't have to be like an epiphany of like something happened in my
Right.
life major and then I started baking cookies.
Yeah, it wasn't something cool. Like I went to this bakery, I had the best cookie I ever had in my life, and it changed everything for me.
All right.
No, I just decided I wanted to bake, and I just have always loved baking.
Cool. That's kind of how it was for me. I feel like I just started like baking more and more. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is fun. I like this. And it's not turning
Yeah.
out terrible. I guess I want to do it. Yeah. So do you do it as like a business now? Like this is your full-time job, or do you have another job and you just bake as a side hustle?
So earlier this year, I used to work at a bank, and I quit that, and now I'm just baking full time.
Nice.
Yeah, for years I wanted to take the plunge and just like quit, bake every day. Finally, this year I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and I just cut it out, and now here I am baking.
Nice. Has that been good as far as starting? I mean, this past year has been insane. I feel like a lot of people probably have started businesses because, they're like, okay, I either wasn't working because of the pandemic or, realizing like, this is what's more important in my life and I'm going to do this thing. So was it
Oh,
easy starting?
so it's actually kind of wild because are you in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay. So like in Columbus, it seems like a lot of cookie decorators actually quit this year. So I had a lot of
Weird.
people contact me, and they were like, "Oh, I'm selling my stuff because I'm not doing it." So that was kind of weird. So last year it was good and it was bad because obviously, part of my business is I rely on people to have parties, and if you're not having parties, you don't need cookies, you don't need a drag queen to show up and have fun with.
Sure.
So it was kind of like a year off, which was actually kind of wonderful. So it allowed me time to really focus on other things, kind of take a step back so I didn't get burnt out. So it was nice in that aspect, but obviously like luckily I did have my other job. So
Sure.
baking wasn't my full income. So it was nice in some aspects, but then some obviously I wasn't taking any orders. Um, and now I forget what your question was.
If it was easy, I mean, like starting a business, during the
Oh,
pandemic.
I mean, yeah. Oh, you said in a pan. So I've been doing cookies for about 6 years. So do you mean like was it easy just last year and like
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess during the pandemic, was it like, okay, I can just keep doing the way I was doing it, or was it, a lot of people, especially bakeries down here in Cincinnati, they had took a while for them to adjust. I think to figure out like what's our system, and yeah,
so I think there's like a couple things about it because at the very beginning of the pandemic, everyone decided that they wanted to bake, right? So everyone was home and everyone was trying all these new
bread.
recipes. Yeah, and it was so funny because a lot of stores were out of flour. So I think that part was a little difficult because even if you wanted to take this time to practice different kinds of baked goods, it was difficult to find flour.
Sure.
Um, but I think it was easy to kind of keep doing things during the pandemic because I had time to like just focus on like making cookie videos or doing fun things in drag. I think the difficult part was, you know, everyone kind of had to adapt. So I used to
Sure.
do cookie decorating workshops in person. Well, obviously
Mm,
that wasn't a possibility anymore.
sure.
So I had to figure out how to do things virtually. I had to figure out, you know, how to kind of keep myself busy without seeing anyone, which was very
Sure.
strange because I'm very used to being around people, very social. So it was difficult in that aspect, but it was easy because it was the same thing that I've always been doing,
Sure.
and it just gave me time to really hone in on it.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like, yeah, that would be hard, especially if you do events and parties and that's like something you love, a part of it, and then having to be like,
Yeah.
okay, I literally cannot do that. Because it's
Yeah.
like a lot of people did virtual stuff, you know, like virtual classes, but like for an aspect of you in terms of decorating, if you're doing like cookie decorating parties, I feel like a large part of that is you being there. So
Yeah. I mean, it's not the same if you see a drag queen, you know, like on your screen as opposed to in person.
sure.
So I basically took a year off of doing cookie workshops, and that was fine by me. It just gave me time to really think about different aspects that I wanted to focus on. So it was nice.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about Plenty.
Okay.
How how did she start? You know, was it something that you always kind of knew you wanted to do, or was it just like you tried it once and then you're like, all right, we're doing this?
So my friend Allison, she says that one time she asked me. So I've been doing drag for 8 years,
Nice.
and she said whenever we were at Ohio State that she asked me, "Would you ever do drag?" And I said I would never do drag. I would never do it. And then my friend Mary, when I was at OSU, she helped put on this amateur drag show. And she asked me to do it my like junior year, and I chickened out because I had never done it. I had never seen a drag show, and I just stage fright. I just chickened out.
Sure. Yeah.
Then my senior year, she asked me if I would do it again. I had just seen my first drag show, and I had one of my friends who's also a drag queen. She painted me for it, and I had other friends who helped, you know, get me all ready. And I did it. And my now drag grandmother, she started booking me after that because she was one of the hosts,
Sure.
and it just kind of happened from there. So like I didn't have um any goal of doing drag. It just kind of happened after I did one show, and then it just kind of blossomed from there.
That's awesome. It is a funny thing where you're like, you say you're never going to do something, and then it becomes a big part of your lifestyle.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. When my friend Allison tells me that, it's so funny because now I do drag, you know, multiple times a month, all over. So it's wonderful.
Do you think that how does it fully encompass with your cookie business? You know, is it a large part of it? Is it just like an added thing that you do for fun? Is it
I think I don't know, because for me, it's not a big thing, but for a lot of people, it is.
sure?
So for me, obviously, like doing the cookies is like my art form. It's like my zen, my relaxation, and baking is something that I do because I love it. But for a lot of people who basically only know me from social media and from my business, they know Plenty O Smiles, or they call me Plenty O Cookies
Sure.
they think that's my drag name, but my drag name is actually Plenty O Smiles. And I think most of them they just think my business is, you know, this drag queen who bakes. It was funny one time. I told someone I was baking, and they said, "You're gonna get in drag and bake," and I'm like, "No, I don't bake at home in drag. I'm not in drag whenever I'm doing stuff." I was
Right.
like, I'm only in drag whenever I'm doing public things.
Sure.
So I thought it was kind of funny. People thought like, you know, I was in drag all the time. I was like, no, do you see this facial hair? No, I am I am not.
Well, and it's like,
Um,
who's gonna get it? How long does it take you to get in? Like, it probably would take so long to even then just to start baking after that. It would.
oh my gosh. And then taking it off, it takes long too. And I'm like,
Sure.
no. So I thought that was kind of cute that people think that I get in drag to bake, but I don't. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is a big part for a lot of people. And I tell a lot of people, like the part that makes me most happy about doing drag when I'm a baker is that like representation matters.
Yes.
So a lot of people who have never seen a drag queen or met a drag queen, they follow my page, and I've had people message me like telling me their stories about how their child or their brother or sister have come out and like either asking me questions, asking for resources, just telling me their story. Someone came up to me, I was doing a pop-up and said how important it was for, I don't know their pronouns, but how important it was for them to have someone who was so out there and open about it, because they had never experienced that. So it was really good for them to see that there were people out there who were doing things and comfortable with themselves. So it is a big part for a lot of people, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, first off, that's awesome, because I mean, that's why social media is so great in terms of, I mean, it's a scary place, but it's also nice because you can reach all these people that maybe can, I don't know, secretly is not the word, but like maybe kids that like are on social media, see your account and maybe aren't out, can see that like, oh, someone's doing this, someone has done this and I should feel comfortable doing this, obviously in their own time. But
Yes.
you're right, it is just that representation, just seeing more of it. The more people see out there, the more comfortable they get. That's great. How do you handle, still talking about the drag, how do people, do you get offended if someone's expecting plenty of smiles from you in terms of an event, or when you're having that conversation, how you said like baking is what I do, I don't bake at home, and drag is something I like to do that makes me happy when I'm out and about and doing things. But have you ever come across a situation where maybe a negative reaction to that? Or
I've never had I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had a negative reaction toward it, but I guess my mindset is, if someone were to say or do something, I have to think in my mind like this could be a lack of education on that person's point of view, and like if I can do something to even get them to experience a little bit of that, and hopefully educate or bring awareness to it, then I'm totally game for that. But I guess I try not to engage in a lot of negativity, because I don't know, like I always want my page to be positive, and I want it to be fun. I want people to go there and just enjoy it and smile. Plenty of smiles. That's my game.
There you go.
I don't think I would ever get offended if someone, they expected plenty of smiles or plenty of cookies to kind of be there. Yeah, I mean, I pick and choose when I want to be in drag and when I don't want to.
Sure.
Obviously, if I'm doing an event and someone is hiring me as plenty of smiles, I would love to be there as plenty of smiles. But a lot of times, it's nice to introduce people to Alex as well, and kind of put myself out there.
Right. Because I could see people, I mean, it'd be like so fun for a certain group to have like a drag queen at their party, and you're thinking, what's your intent with having me there? Is it because it's funny, or is it because you accept it and you're good with it?
Yeah, I think the drag community in general, and obviously I can't speak on behalf of all drag queens, but sometimes there is this I can't think of the word, but there's this whole perspective where it's like, if you're hiring a drag queen, are you hiring us to be kind of to be an artist and because you appreciate the craft, or are you hiring us because we're here for your entertainment?
Right.
We like I guess I try to call out to if you want a drag queen there, like try to be an ally, like try to understand like how drag even came about, and how like the Stonewall riots, it was people of color who dressed. I I can't say for sure if they were trans women or if they were drag queens. It was probably a mixture of both, but
Sure.
it's like you have to understand like where all that came from and the struggles of like coming up with the drag community. So I want people to, I guess, not just expect, hey, this is like a clown that I'm hiring.
Right.
You know, there's stuff behind it, and it's a big, you know, LGBTQ plus cultural thing that like drag queens are important to the culture.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, not good when people are using it, but yeah, I think it's important to use those as education moments, and it's hard because you can't always know someone's intent before you're there, or you
Yeah.
know, certain things. But I think once people understand and actually would do the education themselves, and you know, like go into the history of it and come to respect it, then they wouldn't see it as some sort of like just a form of entertainment. You know, it is artistry, it's art. Let's talk about sweet treats and things that you like to bake. Obviously cookies. I will say, so royal icing, is that like the main form of cookie decorating for you?
Yeah. So when I first started my business, I was just gonna do cookies. That's why I named my business Plentio Cookies. But so when I was coming up with that name, someone said, well, you're limiting yourself to only cookies.
Sure.
And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's okay to eat Plentio Cookies and offer other things. So right now I'm renovating my basement to be like this bakery kitchen. And
Nice.
what I want to do is, you know, offer other items. And I've been kind of experimenting and seeing where that goes. So yeah, I mean, royal icing is where I started, like royal icing cookies, but just kind of going along with baking and focusing on everything else.
Yeah, I will say decorating cookies stresses me out so much because I don't know if it's like I don't have a steady hand, like I need a surgeon's hand or something. Like I just like make it so messy. I feel like I'm off with my timing. So then I like it dries too quickly, and then I'm like trying to get the filling in, and it's like a different consistency. There's definitely an art form to it.
It just takes time to really get it. You have to be very patient because you're gonna mess up a lot. But I will say I don't have a steady hand. Everyone's always like, you must have like such steady hands. You must be able to do all of these things. No, if you can squeeze a bag, you can decorate cookies. I promise you. It's easier than what you think. I think the hardest part is getting your consistency correct. After you get that, everything else is easy.
Because yeah, I feel like, I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that there's hope for me, because I've tried to do it because I don't really do orders myself. I just kind of bake and, you know, post recipes and share things. But I've done some orders and people are like, do you do cookies? And I'm like, I will try to do cookies. And they always are like just good enough to pass to give them these cookies. But I'm always like, I'm also a perfectionist. So I feel like if it's not like perfect, I like hate giving it away to someone to like.
Oh, 100. It's like scary because, you know, like these people, they ordered something specific. And if you don't, oh my gosh, what does deliver, I guess,
Right.
like on their vision. And it's like, so you're creating these individual little things. It's a little bit of pressure on there. But I have all the faith in you. You got this.
Thank you. Well, I will have to try it again because I stick in my own lane with like, I stick with pastries and like dough and like things like that make me happy. And then when I start to get into the cookie decorating and royal icing is when I start to panic.
See, that's where I want to start going, is to like the pastries and other baked goods. That's my next step. And I started kind of doing it. The thing that kills me the most are macarons. Do you make macarons?
I have made a few, but it is like, couldn't tell you why it worked, couldn't tell you why it failed, kind of a situation.
I have tried many recipes, and it's wild because macarons, like everyone knows that they're temperamental, right? Like,
sure.
Like you can make one recipe one day and they're perfect. One recipe and the same recipe the next day and they're not perfect. And you don't know exactly why it did it.
There's like 8 reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. But then everyone has a different recipe. And I'm like, how do all of these recipes work? It blows my mind. Because I have seen recipes where like it'll tell you like how many times, you know, you fold in the almond flour. And then some of them will be like, oh, you have to set these out for over an hour to kind of like dry over. One of them said, do not exceed an hour. One of them said, put them directly in the oven after you pick them out. And I'm like,
You're like, which is it? Yeah.
Seriously. And then like, it's just too much. It's too much. And I swear by the end of my life, I will get macarons down if it kills me. I will burn down my house before I get to eat my macarons.
If I learn to decorate with royal icing, then you can do macarons. I mean, they're different, but it is crazy because you read those recipes and you're like, okay, so do I leave them out for 2 hours to get dry and develop a film that doesn't move when I touch it, or put it in the oven? Because I've done both, and both have worked out. So, and then I've had both fail.
No sense. It makes no sense to me. And like one time I put them in, I said, oh, these are going to be perfect. They flattened completely out and covered the entire pan. And I'm like, what happened here? Like I was like dumbfounded.
They're also the biggest tease because like you will bake them and they will look perfect. And they'll be like, don't touch them for an hour. Like take them out of the oven, let them sit. And then I'll be like, okay, I did everything perfect. They didn't collapse. They've got feet. And then you go to lift it and they're completely hollow on the inside.
Or they're a little underbaked, so they stick a little bit to the parchment or the slip mat, whatever you're using. And then like when they're hollow on the inside and everything else looks perfect, it's like this most sad moment of your not of your life. I mean, I'm being dramatic now.
Of that day.
Yeah, of that day. It's just like I think I was on the phone with my boyfriend and I'm like, I'm so defeated. I'm like, I made like probably 5 pans of macarons and only like 1 pan turned out, and they were still a little hollow on the inside. And I know that they can be a little hollow and they're still okay. But I've seen some people like take a knife, cut through, and it's completely like filled and perfect. And I'm like, how?
I don't get it. There are so many people. There are just so many people that I follow that do it perfectly, and I get mad.
like every time they do it perfectly. Right. How? I'm sorry I turned this interview into why macarons are the bane of my existence. So
no, that's what this is for. Yeah, this is now we're just talking about macarons and that's it.
Yeah. One day I'll get it, and I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna say I made the perfect macarons, and I'm gonna slice one in half and be like, look at this.
Perfect.
So,
and then it'll be one of the things that you offer, and then you'll be known for it.
Yeah, or I'll never do it again because I did it.
Or you'll never do it again. Yeah. Okay, so you make cookies. You're looking to expand. What would you say? I feel like, like I like eating pastry, but I also love a good like loaf or something like that. What would you say is like, if you're at a bakery, like what are you looking for?
Oh my gosh. I try not to go to many bakeries because I will get an entire box for myself. Like I do not have self-control at a bakery because in my mind, I say, you know what, you can just have a little bit of everything like over time, but that never happens.
You're lying to yourself.
Yeah. So like if I go to a bakery, like one of my favorite bakeries, I'll go and get a lemon bar, a s'mores bar, blueberry muffin. I'll get, what is it called? It's like a loaf. But it's not a cornbread loaf. I don't know what it is, but it's a loaf. And then you put butter on it and then preserves. So sometimes it's like something like a little more savory. Sure. Like cinnamon rolls. I love donuts. I love bakeries. I love sweets. So I try my hardest to avoid them because I cannot resist.
It's hard because it's funny you say like getting a whole box of stuff, because I feel like here in Cincinnati, like people love the bakeries down here and they really like show up for them, which is awesome. And every time I see like them sharing it on social media, it's like they have a box of like, or they have like 2 boxes of like 12 pastries, and I'm like, this better be going to a party. And then I go and order pastries and I get a box of like 6 or 7 pastries. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, because you get there and you say, well, that one looks good and that one looks good, but if I get this one and then I want that one later, like I don't want to make another trip. So you might as well just get it now.
Right.
So that's what I do. I just get a whole box and I just eat them all. So
it's been a rough year, so we're all allowed to eat an entire box of pastries. So
yeah, I just don't tell anyone. Well, now I'm telling you, whoever watches this.
All right.
But that's what I do. That's what I do. I just buy a whole bunch of things. So
live your life, you know, that's what I say.
I mean, right now I have a pie that's in my refrigerator, and throughout the week I was eating like a slice a day because that's like why wouldn't I? But now
Right.
I've just resulted just eating with the spoon out of the pie tin.
There you go.
So
Don't waste other
I'll do it with
plates. Yeah.
I'll do it with brownies too. Like I will
Perfect.
straight up just like make a pan of brownies and just every day take a spoonful for breakfast. Like who am I? What am I doing? I can't get out of here. That is fair.
Now, are you talking about brownies? Are you fudgy, cakey, chewy? It's a big debate.
Okay, well, first I have to start with I am a centerpiece kind of person. Like I want it to be
Okay,
like when I bake my brownies, I underbake it a little bit.
sure.
I want it to be like fudgy, dense, like gooey. Like that's what I want. Like the edge pieces, I'll get down with an edge piece. Like if someone put an edge piece on my plate, I'm gonna eat it. But I want something that like I can like, especially a warm brownie with a scoop of ice cream.
Mm.
That's it. That's it for me. That's a weakness. So yes, to answer your question, fudgy, chewy, really soft and dense. Yeah. What about
See,
you?
I love the edge pieces because I love getting the little crunch, and then you get a bit of the fudge, and you can kind of get both. But like, just don't give me a cake, like a cakey, like dry brownie. You know?
No. That's the whole point of it being a brownie. It's not cake.
Right. And I
And I
get
don't.
to each their own. You can enjoy a cake brownie, but I just feel like that's not a brownie.
Do you put nuts in your brownies?
I don't, but
Oh my gosh.
I will not say no to it. If you put one in front of me, I'll eat it.
You know what? I won't either. But if I have a choice, there's not gonna be any nuts. I might put chocolate chips in it.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm into that life. I've put peanut butter in mine too. Like I swirled it throughout.
Mm. Now I'm gonna go make brownies after this. I feel like I have to make brownies.
You'll have to send me some because I am not going to bake brownies. I have a lot of cookies to decorate today, or I would because I'm totally into that life.
Well, how is it with like, I know when I'm trying to do a recipe and I'll be like testing different things, I'll change one minor thing, and then the rest of the recipe is like completely different outcome. For you with cookies and stuff, like do you pretty much have like, this is the recipe I use and I'm just changing the decorating, or do you ever have to like mess around with like the actual like base recipe?
Oh no, the base recipe is like good to go, like tried and tested. Like mama's not changing the recipe. And I've told people that I was like, oh, like I might add something to the recipe. And people were like, don't you ever change that. And I was like, okay.
They get
Okay,
mad.
Yeah. So I won't change that recipe, but other recipes for other baked goods, sometimes I'll play around and I'll, change a couple things and add whatever I feel like would work. Have you ever had like the times where you kind of mess up with measuring something, you scoop some out, but you might not have scooped it all out and just kind of go with it.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you kind of messed up and you're just like, you know what, listen, I'm not gonna throw it away. Here we go.
Right.
So sometimes, it'll be like a happy mistake where I add something and I didn't mean to, and I just kind of go,
Like, well, we are here. Yep.
yep, we're making it happen. I made a red velvet cake, and that's kind of what happened, and it was wonderful. So
there you go. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works out. The hardest part for me is when I like decide to change something or accidentally change something, like you said, like kind of meant to only scoop once, and it like doesn't work out, and it's like either just not good or just not what I wanted, and now it's like I have this thing. For me, it's I obviously don't want to waste any ingredients, but it's like I just wasted so much time.
Yeah.
Doing this thing that now I can't, do anything with.
Do you ever get like upset when something it's not perfect, like it's not bad, it's not perfect, it's not what you wanted, and people try it and they're like, this is so good, but it's not what I wanted.
You're like, you're lying to me. Like who paid you? Yeah, like because whenever you bring stuff over to like friends or family, like I don't know if they've never said anything's disgusting, and I'm like, you are lying. Like there's no way that like this isn't perfect.
It's like, first of all, how dare you?
All right.
Second of all, I know you're lying.
Right. How dare you support me?
Seriously.
Oh man. All right. Well, I mean, that's really like all the questions I had, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. if you had any other questions for me, if you want to talk about anything else.
When you bake, do you either solely do it by like volume measurement, weight measurement, or is it both?
For me, it's both. When I started, I was like fully just like, like cups and, whatever, like just based on the measurement. And then as I learned, because, I've only been doing this for a few years now officially, the weight was so important. And now I can't not do weight, because when I read someone else's recipe, if they say 1 cup of flour, I don't know if they don't have a weight measurement, I don't know if they scooped it, if they spooned it and leveled it, if they lightly scooped, it can mean so many different things. So when someone says 1 cup, I'm like, that could be 5 different measurements and I could do a whole different recipe. So it is funny. All my recipes I do weight, and I've started doing that, moving forward, just because you never know who's going to come across your recipe that doesn't live in the US, because we're the only ones that are crazy and do it this way.
I know, right?
We just had to mess it up for the rest of the world, didn't we?
We really did. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't have a scale, but like I started, whenever I get a recipe, if it's in cups, because most recipes in the United States, are in cups. So like I try to convert it myself and see if that still works the same. But I just wondered.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't get offended, but it's funny when I see people get mad about it, like they're offended that they have to use a scale, and it's, find another recipe that doesn't have a scale or weight. There's a million recipes out there. So it's funny when people get kind of heated about it, but I always say, tell people, like, get a scale and you'll be surprised at how often you do end up using it. And it's kind of like when you try a recipe and there's like a weird spice and you're like, I'll never use this spice again. To me, it's like, I'll get this spice and then I'll find like 10 other ways to use it,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Alex. This was super fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had fun. It was fun.
Good. Yeah, we'll have to chat again. And thank you again.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you as well.